Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow alongside Mo Patton here on this semi-nice day. It's kind of cloudy now, but it wasn't. But that's okay. We'll take what we can get. Mo, how's it going?
I will just say this. It's not nearly as nice here as it is in Cancun, where apparently someone is supposed to be on with us today. So have we confirmed our second guest?
Good question. Didn't realize that Cancun was calling this time of year.
I don't know. Oh, no. Wrong chip. Never mind. Disregard all of that.
So Cirillo?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sullivan. You don't know him.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So now
reading is fundamental.
It's all right. Okay. So Chip Walters is not in Cancun.
It's not in Cancun. No. That I know of.
Much to his chagrin.
But much to my calmness now. Because
you were freaking out a little bit.
Just a little. Yeah. My bad. Like I said, reading is fundamental.
Sometimes.
I just saw Chip and just went, whoa.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You got a little excited there.
What up? Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, it's all right. It's going to be a good Tuesday. We have Blake Lovell from Southeastern, 14 for now. I guess they're going to be 16 next year.
Well, let's ask about that.
Hopefully they've acquired the rights to the website.
To Southeastern16.com.
Otherwise, that could be an issue. We'll talk to him about
Southeastern 14+2.
Tonight's Vanderbilt hoops contest, and then tomorrow Tennessee welcomes number 1 Alabama to Thompson Bowling Arena. We'll get his thoughts on those. Of course, Chip Walters will join us as he is not in Cancun, unfortunately for him.
Fortunately for us.
But fortunately for us. And we will also get into NFL power rankings. Four major networks that put out their way too early 2023, 2024 power rankings. And the Titans
did not fare well.
No. Well, it's interesting where they fall in some and then versus others. It's really interesting. We'll compare the four and why they
do we have a composite of the four?
No, we don't. But we should.
I'll see if I can figure that out between now and then.
You probably can.
Yeah. I'll scout around, see if I can find it.
Oh, well, all the links are in the run of show, Justin, if you want to check that out. You can. He's like, yes, that helps me quite a bit. We'll also talk about some coaching changes. The Eagles, the Eagles fly right out of the nest into head coaching jobs.
The Super Bowl losers, by the way, see both their offensive and defensive coordinators get head coaching gigs.
How about that?
Super Bowl winners,
Yeah.
not so much.
Also, we'll go through the AP College basketball poll as well. And, of course, it's Top 5 Tuesday. And today we have road trip snacks. So this should be fun because district tournament time, not so much. But when region tournaments get here, you never know how far you might have to travel. And then sub-state, you definitely need to know what to get at the gas station before you head out. So we'll get into all of that and much, much more. Before we do any of that, though, we're going to give you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
In regular season girls basketball action from Monday night, Cookeville defeated Lebanon, as Tommy Bryan pretty well predicted, 69-34. It was Creekwood with a 56-35 win over Greenbrier. Mount Juliet defeated Wilson Central 46-37, and Ravenwood down Centennial 56-27. Postseason play in District 9 1A, Eagleville defeated Cornersville 36-27. It was Culleoka downing Santa Fe 48-42 in 10 1A. Also in 10 1A, Collinwood defeated Hampshire 51-34. In 10-2A, Giles County defeated Mount Pleasant 62-40. It was Lawrence County 50, Marshall County 25 in 8-3A, and also in 8-3A, Page 74, Spring Hill 33.
Boys basketball action, no coin flip necessary as Cookeville upends Lebanon 68-62, putting the Blue Devils in the number 2 spot in that district. Greenbrier downs Creekwood 57-46. It was White House 52, Montgomery Central 40, and Wilson Central downs Mount Juliet. And that's not a playing game, right?
No.
Okay. 52-42. Centennial edging Ravenwood last night 59-58, and Zion Christian advancing in the TSIAA tournament with a 77-48 win over Pleasant View. Tough night for the Preds. Really bad loss here as the Arizona Coyotes of Phoenix down the Predators 4-2.
Girls basketball action tonight at the high school level. Regular season game. Brentwood is at Summit. That's a 6 o'clock start. I assume that's followed by the boys. Yeah, okay. Postseason play in District 10 3A. Maplewood is at Glencliff. Martin Luther King is at Hillwood, and Hume Fogg is at Valor Collegiate. All of those are 6 o'clock tips, as is Antioch and Laverne in District 8 4A. In 13 4A, Clarksville Northeast is at West Creek at 6. In Division 2 AA Middle Region tournament action, Lipscomb Academy's girls are at Brentwood Academy. That's a 5:30 tip. And at 6 o'clock in Division 2A Middle Region Tournament quarterfinals, Providence Christian is at Clarksville Academy. Ezel Harding is at Middle Tennessee Christian. Columbia Academy goes to Nashville Christian, and Webb hosts Good Pasture.
Boys action tonight. TSIAA tournament play continues. Zion Christian goes up to Springfield to take on South Haven. That's a 6 o'clock start. In 10 1A play at 6 o'clock, it's Culleoka at Collinwood and Hampshire at Wayne County. Also at 6 in 3A, AAA, Tullahoma is at Spring Hill. In 13 Class 4A at 7:15, it's Springfield at Clarksville. And then in 8 4A, Smyrna goes to Cane Ridge, and that will start at 7:30. As mentioned just moments ago, Vanderbilt will be on the hardwood tonight. They'll be in Columbia, South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks at 5:30, and you can see it on SEC Network. And that is going to do it for your rundown. Top story today. We'll start.
Stories, plural.
Yes.
Okay.
we'll start with some somber news that came down Sunday as longtime Tennessee athletics staple Gus Manning died again at his home in Knoxville on Sunday. Gus was 99, World War II vet.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Gus was the original VFL, and he was the last living tie to General Neyland. And I mean, if you ever had an opportunity to be around Gus, it was just uplifting, man. He was just one of those guys that was always positive and always fun to be around, and just so knowledgeable about UT athletics. I guess because he lived through the large majority of it, really. So
he made every game from like 41 to 17.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Retired in 2000 after holding a variety of roles from business manager to senior associate AD. Worked with 8 athletic directors and 11 football coaches, and still had an office in Thompson Bowling up until 2017 when he eventually was moved into assisted living. But 608 straight UT football games from 51 to 2003.
51.
Yeah.
41, he still would have been in the war.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, a 1994 inductee into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, and there is a gate at Neyland Stadium, Gate 16, that was renamed in his honor back in 2015. He was one of a kind, and he will certainly be missed.
No question there. Again, Gus Manning, 99 years old. Heck of a run. So, speaking of Hall of Fames. Right?
Halls of Fame.
Yeah, sorry. Halls of Fame. You did correct me on that last week. Speaking of, the TSSAA will induct 9 into its next class as 1 administrator, 4 coaches, 3 officials, and 1 contributor make up the class.
And one of those 9 has local ties. Hickman County graduate and Loretto athletics director Brian True is among the inductees.
Man, they just let anybody in these things.
Clearly. Yeah.
We love you, Brian.
Began his teaching career at his alma mater in Hickman County, where was a 2-sport standout. He actually kicked in the Tennessee-Kentucky All-Star game his senior year before going to Lipscomb, I think. So that was his final football game. But taught and coached at E.O. Kaufman down in Lawrenceburg. Later spent time as an administrator at Summertown, which I don't understand how you work at Summertown and Loretto. But he was at Lewis County in between, so I guess there was a little bit of a buffer there. Yeah.
I hope it when he made kicks that the announcer said "true is true" from 35 out.
They just said it's true and left it at that.
I just left it at that. Yeah. You're working at Summertown and Loretto while living in Lawrenceburg has to be a unique scenario for most folks.
No doubt. He is also a member of the TSSAA Board of Control, and congrats to Brian. Seriously, I like to give him a hard time because we're kind of contemporaries. We were in high school around the same time, and
great dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I wouldn't want anybody to tell him that, but also longtime South Pittsburgh football coach Vic Grotter.
That's almost a no-brainer if he's eligible.
Right. Jim Hines will be inducted posthumously. Coached at Briarcrest and later at ECS over in Memphis, baseball and football. Former Knoxville Webb football coach Dave Meske.
I think it's Meske.
I believe it's Meske. Former Memphis track and field coach Danny Joe Young. Longtime official Marty Clements worked out of the Real Foot Association. So
Jackson.
Okay, thank you.
That's at the top.
No, that's okay. Longtime official Dale Ford, who has officiated football, basketball, and baseball, and you may also recognize that name from Major League Baseball, where he umpired for 27 years, umpired a couple of World Series and 2 All-Star games.
That seems good.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. Knoxville-based track and field official Donnie Graham and former Livingston Academy baseball coach Pat Swallows, who is now, I guess, the executive director, maybe, of the Tennessee Baseball Coaches Association. I'm not sure.
He's been assistant director since 2012, overseeing hospitality, which is the most important thing.
He's been assistant director of TACA, Tennessee Athletic Coaches Association.
Oh, okay. And he was executive director of the TBCA?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he still is.
Instrumental in the establishment thereof. So,
well, that's, yeah.
But yeah.
Listen,
like
Pat's the guy you need to know, though, if you want to eat at an event.
Yeah. Had a long, it says long and successful career, and he was baseball coach at Livingston Academy when they were doing really well up there. His son, Grant, is director of schools in either White or Warren County. I'm not sure which, but he played quarterback and shortstop at Livingston, and I think he played in the state championship, might have won a state football championship at Livingston back in the mid-90s. But congratulations to those individuals. They will be inducted into the TSSAA Hall of Fame during a luncheon on Saturday, April 15th, that I will not be in attendance for. I've got a previous engagement that I'll be wrapping up on April 15th.
Yeah. Your cruise?
Yeah. So
yeah, Mo's just gonna take off on us as he likes to do.
Hey,
maybe go to Cancun.
No, but San Juan.
Oh, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Too bad Phoenix not there. Finally, before we get out of here, Mo, some more sad news coming from Giles County as Tennessee's
been a rough time in Giles County the last few days.
It's been a roller coaster. I mean, literal roller coaster. The Pulaski Citizen announced about a week ago, a week from yesterday.
Right.
They announced that their last paper would be tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then, not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say, Main Street Media swoops in to save the day. And so the Pulaski Citizen will live on under Main Street Media's umbrella. So we welcome our friends from the Pulaski and Giles County areas. Looking forward to working with the folks down there. The UT Southern women's program, I believe, won their conference tournament, bowling tournament in NAIA play this past year. No, it was the men's. It was the men's team. The men's team won the conference this year, and then yesterday learned that bowling programs at UT Southern will be discontinued. Brandy Paul, who is, assume, athletics director. This has been a challenging decision for our institution and one we did not make lightly. I'm well versed in the time and commitment it takes to compete as a student athlete, and I'm so proud of how our bowlers and their coaches have worked to represent UT Southern in a positive manner, both on the lanes and in the classroom. The problem is that there's not a bowling alley in Pulaski. They were coming to 10 Pin Alley in Columbia to practice and play, and they weren't able to host events at 10 Pin Alley as a host school.
So they were having to travel
exclusively. So this is the issue. Now, they did say that current student athletes will have the option to transfer to other bowling programs, or they may continue their academic careers at UT Southern with scholarships and financial aid honored.
Well, I mean, I guess that's good for the students that want to continue their educations. For the students that want to continue to bowl,
not so much.
Yeah, wow, that's tough. That's unfortunate. I mean,
especially, last year we had a bowler from Columbia Academy who earned a scholarship to go down there.
Yeah. I mean, there have been quite a few local bowlers who have bowled collegiately at Martin Methodist, at UT Southern, and I you don't want to get into the business of counting somebody else's money, but I mean, that's tough that's the reason for the program being shut down. I mean, I don't guess there's really any way around that, is there? Other than somebody swooping in and building a bowling alley.
Yeah, I think that's the problem is that, unless a bowling alley pops up in Pulaski in the next, 30 days, I don't think it's going to happen.
I guess my question is
there a mall down there they can play in? Go back and watch yesterday's show to get that joke.
Nicely done.
Yeah. Get a double bell there.
I guess my question, they didn't have a bowling alley that closed, did they? I mean, my assumption is that there's never been a bowling alley in Pulaski.
You would think there would have been at some point.
But I guess my question, maybe we need to reach out to some of our Pulaski contacts and try to figure out. But my question is, how did it all of a sudden get to be a problem, assuming that there has never been a bowling alley in Pulaski?
Right. Why is it a problem
now? Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are our top stories today. Had several.
Yeah.
I wanted to get them all in. Again, we will talk college hoops here in just a moment as Southeastern 14's Blake Lovell will join us in just a few minutes here. So stick around on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be right back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow alongside Mo Patton here on this Top 5 Tuesday edition still to come. Top 5 road trip snacks. Can't beat that. Of course, Chip Walters joining us at 3 o'clock as well. But now we go to Southeastern14.com's Blake Lovell, who joins us on the show. Blake, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to talk to you guys as always.
Since we last spoke, Blake, Vanderbilt has kind of enjoyed a little bit of a resurgence, I guess, most recently going down to Gainesville and doing what UT couldn't with an 88-80 win down there. And they won a game midweek as well. Is that right? I remember now.
Yeah, I heard
they beat last week.
They won a game midweek.
Tennessee.
There we go. That's right. Yeah. It's that black and gold thing.
And gold.
Yeah. We're hoping Tennessee doesn't have to play anybody else black and gold this year. But
0-3 so far on those.
Yeah, that's not good. Anyway, I guess I just had selective amnesia about that one, but
Maybe. Blake thought you were just trying to joke.
no, I
around.
was dead serious. I went blank on
No.
who Vanderbilt played last week. It's been a long week. I've slept since then. But yeah, like, what is it? Did Vanderbilt take all those lumps early and learn from them? And or obviously Liam Robbins being back has been huge. But I mean, what have been the biggest factors in their turnaround that you can put your finger on?
Well, yeah, I think the Robbins return has been significant, and I think he's playing more. I think that always helps when you have your best player on the floor as much as you can. And before that, everybody kind of was talking about guys coming off the bench and those kind of things. And he was one of those guys that kept coming off the bench, and I think that was Vanderbilt fans were kind of bewildered by that, trying to figure out, well, why is our best player starting on the bench? And, now he started the last 3 games and is playing more minutes. And I think, you look around at the other guys too, that were kind of part of that group where fans are wondering, well, why are some of these guys not starting? And now you're kind of seeing, I think, what they can accomplish just when he's at his best. And it does take other guys around him, whether it's a Trey Thomas stepping up the way that he did at Florida and hitting 4 threes, I think. Obviously, Jordan Wright's there. Lawrence has been someone that certainly, of course, has hit big shots for him. So I think it's just a combination of things. And the remarkable part of this is, they're on a 3-game winning streak right now. And that's the first time that's happened since 2017. But it comes on the heels of one of the worst losses in the history of the SEC, a 57-point loss at Alabama. So isn't that just, how do you make sense of any of that, right?
Right.
That just seems to be the SEC this season. So
It really does. I mean, that seems to be the only way you can explain it. It's just the SEC, because I mean, again, Tennessee loses on a 3-point shot at the buzzer by Lawrence against Vanderbilt, and then they lose on a 3-point shot at the buzzer at home against Missouri. And Tennessee is offensively challenged at times, but Tennessee is not bad. I mean,
they played well offensively both of those games. The irony of it all was their defense was what got them beat, in both of them. So, Blake, when you talk about the SEC as a whole, a lot of folks, I think Joe Lunardi had the SEC with 7 teams in today, and that seems like a lot. But when you look at the parity among the league, you got to feel like that's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, as we always say, that they've got to field 68 teams, and I think that's something I've used in years where the SEC has just been, it's like they've got to find teams from somewhere, right? And so that's one of the things that I've always talked about. It's like when the SEC's been a little down, maybe doesn't have the strength at the top that you were expecting. It's like, well, they've still got to find some teams from somewhere. And I think you've got, like you said, if Lunardi has 7 teams in right now, I think at least 4 of those teams are bubble teams. And, that can play their way in or out. I think Missouri is getting there, but I don't think they're safe just yet. But everybody else, Auburn, Mississippi State, Kentucky, who else? I'm forgetting A&M. Like, I think A&M's, they're not there yet, but like they're 10-2 in the SEC. If they win 13 conference games, you can't keep them out. But like Alabama, Tennessee, locks. Missouri, close. If Missouri wins at Auburn tonight, they're a lock. Everybody else, it's just who knows. And so I think that's the difference. We haven't kind of seen this setup in the SEC in a while, where you've got a couple teams, surefire.
I was referencing a tweet,
bubbles.
and it was your tweet.
There you go. So I always appreciate that. So.
I was like, "Where's the tweet that I just saw
to
talk about this?" And it was from you. So that's perfect. See, I set you right up to put your tweet out there. So
there's nothing wrong with that. I will take any of that I can get. So
do you think that, again, he's got Missouri as a 7 seed, and you think they're a lock if they beat Auburn tonight? Does that push Auburn out?
Well, I think, because here's what that does for Missouri, guys. Like, it gives Missouri another quad one win, right? Because it would be on the road. I'm trying to think where Auburn's at. Yeah, they would have to be in that range, and it's on the road. So Missouri's got a lot of those now. The Tennessee one kind of catapulted them up a couple seed lines. They get another one. What Missouri, and this is where Missouri fans are, furiously just knocking on wood right now because I'm about to say this, but Missouri has done something that a lot of other teams have not done outside of Alabama. They have a clean sheet beyond that quad one range. And so that is something that, they don't have any bad losses, right? And that is where I think Missouri is benefiting the most. Whereas you have teams elsewhere on the bubble that we just talked about that have bad losses. And that's the problem, I think, for them. Auburn could get tricky. If Auburn loses this game, Bruce Pearl called it the biggest game of the season for them. I completely agree. Because if they lose this one, they are, I think, last four in territory at this point, and I don't know what happens from there. So,
how many of these SEC teams do you think, based on what you've seen, and because college this year has absolutely not. Kentucky the first round. How many of them in a normal year?
Boy, that's a good question.
It's tough, right?
It is a tough one. Like I
so
like
what you're saying then is
like,
what you're saying is there aren't 68 teams that deserve to be in the 68 team tournament.
But now we want 96 teams.
Well, as I say, if you want 96, that's where we have to start. Think about what that bracketology is going to be like when we're talking about Georgia and those kind of teams that are 5-7 in the league, 15-10, don't have many quality wins outside of, Georgia's one of those teams that the bulk of their wins are like quad four. I think they've got like 10 quad four wins of their 15 wins this season. But like that's the conversation you're going to start having once we get to 96. So I don't know, guys. Like that is a tough question. Like because this has been one of the weirdest years in SEC basketball I can remember in recent memory. Because it's just you think some of these teams, and you think they're about to turn a corner, and then you have Kentucky go backwards, you have Auburn go backwards, Arkansas you think's moving the right way, they lose it home to Mississippi State, Vanderbilt's coming out of nowhere. It's like I don't know what to make of half this league right now or more. So,
can Vanderbilt get in?
Well, it's an interesting thing, and we actually tried to break this down after the Florida win on Saturday, and what it would take, I think, for Vanderbilt to get in. And here's the problem for Vanderbilt. It's very simple. The problem is Grambling. Like that game, losing that game is why, if you take that out of the equation, I don't think people realize how much closer they would be right now. But because that game exists, I just think that, that's going to be qualified. They're 17-8, by the way. Don't forget this. They are 17-8 in the SWAC. I think they're like a game out of first. So if they were to get in, who knows? But still, it's not a good loss. And look, they're 13-12, 6-6. I mean, listen, if they went out, yeah, like they would get in. If I look at a team like Vanderbilt, I feel like they got to get to probably 11 SEC wins, which that would mean what? They'd have to go 5-1 the rest of the way. Listen, the way they're playing, that's not out of the realm of possibility, guys. Look at their schedule. They're at South Carolina, at LSU, both winnable games. Home against Auburn, they can beat Auburn right now. Home against Florida, they just beat Florida. Win at Kentucky, possible. You never know with Kentucky. Mississippi State at home. So, like, it's not as wild of a question. Yeah, they could go 6-0. If they go 6-0, they're in. But that's how crazy things are, right? Like, this team lost by 57 2 weeks ago. And this is the conversation.
And now we're talking about, do they have a chance to get in the NCAAs?
Well, yeah. And Blake, one of the things that I think about the non-conference early season schedule is, Jerry Stackhouse messed with the lineup a little too much. And I think that he may look back at the end of this year and go, I probably can't do that again.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of where they are now with the Robbins thing. It's just, I feel like it was a little curious just how they approached it. And again, they had their reasons. And I think one of them was just talking about how they see the game better to start from the bench. And hey, to each his own on that philosophy. And maybe that's the case. But I think that, you're always going to look at it in terms of this was always going to be a roster. I think that you were going to need several kind of breakout type guys for them for this to be a successful team. And again, I think Lawrence has been one of those guys. You look at just kind of the season he's had most recently. Again, the big shots he's hit, he's really helped them scoring wise. And yeah, it's not funny, but like you look at their non-conference, right? It's like, well, they lost the game to Southern Miss. We're all thinking, oh my gosh, one of the worst losses in program history. Well, Southern Miss is 23-4. And, so that one doesn't look bad. It's just kind of one of those weird things that you look at, and that's just how a season goes sometimes. But yeah, some of those close losses in non-conference play. I think they had, what was it, guys? I think they had like 3 or 4 losses by like 5 points or less. Those are the ones that come back and kind of haunt you this time of year when you're starting to play better and trying to make a tournament push.
Blake Lovell of Southeastern14.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And Blake, before we go any further, Chris and I were asking earlier, do you all have Southeastern16.com as well?
Yes, we do. We made this and I would like to somebody tell Chris Lee that I would like to say that.
Justin, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry. I was
no one
you talking
to
me?
Well,
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, he says we do.
Yeah.
I can hear you guys.
Roll call.
You may do.
Can you hear us, Chris?
Yes.
Or Mo? No? Chris, Mo? Sorry about this, Blake. I'll try to effort them back.
No, all good.
Okay. So we didn't hear anything you just said, but we did hear other than we do. So
we do.
There's that.
That's it.
But that's good. We'll take that. We got the answer we needed. All of the other stuff. Hey, I hope everybody else enjoyed that. Whatever you said. But.
Yeah, because we're not going to make you repeat it. But the answer to our question was answered. The next question I had for you, and we probably need to talk some UT Alabama, but you mentioned Kentucky and how crazy college basketball is and how crazy SEC basketball is. That Georgia loss over the weekend, are they done?
Well, I thought they were done, but then when you actually dive into the numbers, they're not done. They're still right there, and I can't explain why. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, this is like the Kentucky thing to me is like why the computers like love Tennessee as much as they love Tennessee, and I think it's because when you look at the computer data, the net rankings and stuff, Tennessee could lose their next 6 games and they probably wouldn't move a spot. That's kind of the running joke. Is when you look at the net rankings and all these, like Tennessee is still in the top 5 everywhere, despite losing some of these games. Kentucky still on the NCAA tournament bubble and much closer than people think. I can't explain it. They don't have a lot of good wins. They've beaten Tennessee on the road. That accounts for something. They've beaten Texas A&M at home. A&M's now in the field, so that accounts for something. What else do they have? I mean, that's about it. Like, what else has Kentucky done that is probably would warrant a tournament resume right now, except lose all the big games outside of those 2? And I mean, they've got a tough schedule the rest of the way. I think they're going to lose on Wednesday at Mississippi State. They're going to play Tennessee on Saturday.
And they got Vanderbilt.
I mean, yeah, then they got Vanderbilt. That's not
in Memorial, right?
Yeah, no, it's in Lexington, but still, that's a toss-up, right? Right now, with the way the 2 teams are playing. So, look, if I had to make a bet right now, guys, I would bet that Kentucky does not get into the tournament. The way they're playing, there's no reason to bank on it. So
this team, though, has the team kind of melded in? Are they done with Calipari?
Well,
is this a Dan Mullen situation?
here's the thing, right? They got embarrassed. I mean, I think it's safe to say you can use the word embarrassed at home if you lose by 15 in Rupp to Arkansas. The way that game played out, I thought it was not, I think it borderline embarrassing, like for Kentucky. And then it's like, well, how do you respond mentally to that? What's your mindset? You go lose at a Georgia team that, let's not forget this. Yes, Georgia, Mike White's done a terrific job in year one, getting them to 15 wins after the program had basically sank to the bottom. Great job. But this Georgia team has not played well at all the past month or so. I mean, they've not been playing good basketball. And yet, who fixes their woes? Kentucky. Like they're able to when you
need a get right game, you don't expect it to be Kentucky.
You think Kentucky fans are excited about the get right games these days? Them being on the it's not a good situation. I'll say that. So.
Meanwhile, Tennessee does host the new AP #1 in Thompson Bowling Arena tomorrow night. And let's face it, being #1 in the country this year has not been a place you wanted to be.
Ain't what you want.
And with the way Tennessee has been playing, you feel like offensively, again, have been playing pretty well. You feel like their defense is going to find itself and get right at some point, kind of like we talked about Kentucky earlier this year. It's Thompson Bowling Arena. It's going to be nuts. It's Alabama. All of the things really point to Tennessee should be able to make this a really good basketball game. I don't think we're going to see any, massive blowouts, but Alabama has beaten everybody by double figures in SEC play, I think. So what do you make of tomorrow night?
The thing about Alabama is this is not the same setup to me as the Auburn game was, but it's somewhat similar in that you've got a great defensive team on the other side. Tennessee's a great defensive team. Auburn was a great defensive team. Tennessee's better than Auburn in that area, but by how much can be debated at times. But you still look at Alabama, and I think the one thing that Alabama does not get enough credit for, because everyone's going to focus on the Alabama offense and Brandon Miller against the Tennessee defense. But Alabama is one of the best defensive teams in the country. They're not that far behind Tennessee at this point. When you look at all the defensive numbers and the metrics and everything, Alabama does not get the credit they deserve for how good they are. They haven't allowed more than 69 points in an SEC game. This is the first time a team has started 12-0 in league play and not allowed more than 69 points in any game, I think since I got to remember the number here. I think it's 1970, something like that. I mean, this is a team that is for the history books through 12 games. And so that's why I look at this game and absolutely, this is going to be #1 team on the road, biggest game of the season now for Tennessee, coming off of 2 just brutal losses. And it's how you respond. But at this point, how could I possibly believe, it's not, Chris said this to me, Chris Lee, he was like, at some point, Alabama's got to lose, right? I said, I don't know. I don't know if they do have to lose.
Based on what?
Yeah, that's exactly what I asked him. I was like, based on what? I don't know if they have to lose, Chris. I really don't. They're that good. So yeah.
Who's the last SEC team to go undefeated?
That would have had to have been the Kentucky team, right? Was that 14 or 15?
You would think. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that would have had to be the Kentucky team. I don't think anyone's done it since. I may be wrong on that, but yeah. And look, this is where that talk, if Alabama wins this game, that talk's going to heat up because the rest of their schedule, by no means easy, but there's a path there if they win this game. So,
we were talking just before the SEC Big 12 Challenge about how this game could have been 1 versus 2 going in, and then Tennessee beats Texas and Alabama beats Oklahoma, and you thought, well, there went the shot at 1-2.
Alabama loses Oklahoma.
I'm sorry, Alabama loses. Tennessee beats Texas. You thought, well, they're 1 versus 2 because Alabama's not ever going to get up there now after this loss.
Alabama held up its end of the bargain,
and Tennessee has fallen flat on its face over the last 2 weeks. So it is interesting, and that just goes to show the ridiculousness that has been one college athletics this year, outside of Georgia going post to wire, and being one of the top teams in the country all year long in football. Everything else has just been absolutely bonkers. So let's keep it going. That's all.
Says Captain Chaos. Yes.
Hey, I'm all in. I'm all in. Blake, we appreciate you taking some time with us today, man. Again, for those of you out there, if you want to keep up with some college hoops talk, follow at the Blake Lovell. He does have great tweets, I know, because I reference him on this show all the time, including to him and not even realizing it. But we appreciate you, man, as always. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, AP poll, we'll go through it. We'll go through that briefly. And then the NFL power rankings. Where do the Titans end up in 4 of the major networks power rankings? We'll tell you right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.com.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Still to come later in the show is Chip Walters. But right now, we talk a little bit about the AP Top 25 Hoops poll, as Alabama, we just mentioned, is the new number 1, coming in above Houston. And they have a win against Houston, so I guess that makes sense. At Houston. One would think that would make a difference. Purdue drops down to number 3 following their 64-58 loss at Northwestern. UCLA and Kansas, big jumps after Kansas going to Oklahoma with a 23-point victory over the Sooners, and UCLA up at Oregon dealing with their ridiculous-looking court, getting a 70-63 win. Now, Texas lost at Texas Tech and dropped.
Hey, I got a break real quick.
Oh, you got
Take it.
All right, we got to – we'll go into – Justin, you want to
Solo
join
dolo?
in? It's all right. Hang on just a second. I got some stuff here that I can help us out.
Should we double box here?
Yeah, go ahead. Look at you. Speaking of Tennessee, Tennessee is at in the 10 hole, still top 10. How about that?
I know, man. I know it's great. I think anything to do with Sorry, I'm back. Here we go. Can you hear me? Check one.
I can hear you.
Okay, sweet. Sorry, lost the connection there. I can hear you as well.
Yeah, the internet's still giving us some trouble, at least a little bit.
What's a little internet
It's
without
not a
trouble,
great look.
folks?
I thought
Am I
it was
right?
Yeah. Arizona drops down to 8th after losing to Stanford 88-79. Tennessee again lost this week and drops 4 spots to number 10. Gonzaga back up to 13. Indiana, as well as Miami, with big jumps after wins at Michigan for the Hoosiers and at North Carolina for Miami. North Carolina not as big of a win as you'd think. Butler with the big win over Xavier. And so the Musketeers drop 3 spots as well.
Is it
Providence
Xavier?
lost at St. John's, so do what?
I was going to say, is it Xavier? It's not Xavier, right? It is Xavier? Or how do you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Xavier.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. What'd you say?
It is what it is. It's like it's with a Z.
Got like Xavier. I actually have a
Xavier.
buddy named Millen Xavier. His last name is Xavier. So I'll remember that.
Conference USA, we'll talk about it here in just a second. Florida Atlantic. They are still in the top 25. They don't. They stick around at number 25 with a win over La Tech, 90-85 in Boca. Receiving votes. How about Oral Roberts getting 9 votes? Missouri just missing the top 25, so I guess that makes you feel better if you're a Tennessee fan.
It was interesting, listening to Blake about Tennessee's end regardless, even with, like you said, the black and gold losses to
the Colorado loss hurts a lot, but I don't think it can overshadow a neutral court win over Kansas. I think that kind of buys you a lot of grace.
Well, thank goodness.
They're definitely needed. So anyway, so the picking interesting this week as Alabama and Tennessee again, the only 2 SEC teams in the top 25. Though Missouri did just miss by 3 points, beating out Florida Atlantic. And I have to think that if Missouri and Florida Atlantic played tomorrow, that Missouri would probably win that game. Missouri's offense is like one of the best in the country.
Yeah, Dennis Gates has done a great job over there in a short period of time.
Their defense, however, is ranked like 286th in the country. No wonder Tennessee's offense looked good against them. So anyway, wanted to get into a little NFL news. First, the Colts have hired their guy. And is the first of the 2 Eagles coordinators. Offensive coordinator Shane Steichen.
I guess it's Steichen. Steichen.
Yeah, Shane.
I kind of puzzled with that myself.
I before E except after C, except here apparently. So it may sound. I guess it could be Steichen. Staken. I don't know. No, it's Steak and Shake. Shane Steichen tabbed to be the new Eagles coach, and honestly, I wonder what that does to their draft process.
To Phillies or Indies?
To Indies.
Well, I mean, he's a quarterback coach, right?
Well, yeah. Allegedly, he seems to be pretty good at it. But does this mean they have to kind of go out and get a Jalen Hurts type dual threat guy?
I don't know if it necessarily has to be a Jalen Hurts dual threat guy, but certainly they're going to go get a quarterback. Maybe where are they picking again? Are they
4?
Okay, so you think C.J. Stroud's not going to be there?
Bryce Young nor Stroud will be stay at 4. So it's Levis or Richardson.
Levis will be.
It's Levis or Richardson.
Again,
which I'm all for.
Yeah. Never interrupt your enemy in the middle of making a mistake. Take Will Levis, please.
Now, if they trade up to get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, but I think it would be Young, then you get a little more uncomfortable. So.
Yeah, I said I want to have to play against Bryce Young 2 times a year. I don't think Will Levis, from what we've seen,
He does.
perish.
But I think of those 4 quarterbacks, he's definitely runner of the 4.
Levis?
Yeah.
Better than Richardson?
Yeah.
Think. We've had more practice.
Well, I mean, he was a dual threat guy out of high school. He was one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the country, and he does give you that ability. Now, I think that he would certainly be a project, but I think Jalen Hurts was somewhat of a project as well when he came into the league, and clearly he's improved.
I know that I would put Jalen Hurts and Will Levis on the same level coming in.
Yeah, I mean, well, Jalen was a Heisman finalist his senior year coming out of Oklahoma. Now, again, that's Oklahoma. I don't know. I mean, I think Will Levis probably has as much arm ability as Jalen has, and they're probably semi-close in the running category. But I just don't see. I think Will Levis is their guy. Is what I'm saying.
I think Will Levis seems to be their guy, regardless of who the coach is. But it just seems to me that some ability to take care of the ball should mean something. And I mean, if you've not shown that ability in college, I don't know. This is carelessness with the ball. I mean, you ask most coaches and they will tell you the best play on offense is a play that has you in possession of the ball at the end of it. I don't know how you fix that. I don't know what makes you think that we can fix that. We can fix a decision-making process.
Yeah, that's the X factor. That's the X factor. Eagles defensive coordinator is headed to Arizona.
Is that official? Has there been? I mean, I know there's been a lot of indications of that, but that's out of Arizona announced.
I don't know. But that's a defensive minded coming off of Cliff Kingsbury is an interesting scenario as well. Do you feel like that was the priority for Arizona? They really wanted a defensive minded guy?
I don't know what Arizona has wanted, because they had a defensive guy pre-Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Wilkes, and they fired him after 1 year. And you are committed financially to a quarterback that you may or may not want in Kyler Murray. It would seem like you would want somebody that could get in his ear and bring him along. Because, I mean, you've got too much money in him to get away from him, I think. Don't you?
I think so. And, we also have some additional breaking news that the Raiders have informed Derek Carr. He's been released.
Which I think is what Derek Carr wanted anyway.
Well, he had a no trade clause in his contract and basically told him, no,
I'm not waiving it, because I think they want to do something with the Saints. And he's like, no, you're going to have to release him.
And he's going to end up being the Saints or in Carolina.
But he's going to end up in New Orleans without the Raiders benefiting from it.
That's right. And that's exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, and I don't blame him.
Heck no. I'm not going to let you trade me and get something.
And get something for me. No.
When you basically threw me out with the trash, with the bathwater. Not happening. So, yeah, good for him. A lot of folks talked about maybe Derek Carr, potentially in Tennessee, and I thought somebody made a good point. Why would you want a 3 years younger Ryan Tannehill? I mean, if you don't want Ryan Tannehill, why do you
Right.
want him just 3 years younger?
Yep.
That doesn't make a lot of sense. So stick with the devil you know, I guess. But anyway, I hate that we're not going to get to the power rankings, but I'd much rather get to Chip. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about those power
We
rankings.
will talk about these power rankings,
Oh,
and I've
wow.
spent the whole show
Compiling?
Yes.
I like it. Mr. Average is over here. We'll get to it. But right now we go to Chip Walters after a break. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Be back after this talking Middle Tennessee State.
Was it a force?
This is Chris Yow with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. She's on Thinking Out Loud, presented by Regions, and Out of Pocket with Alyssa Lang. It is, in fact, Alyssa Lang.
I'm a little nervous. I'm going to lower the bar for guests now.
Oh, no.
Like, apologies in advance. It sounds like
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey.
You got that radio voice.
I do.
It's a good sound.
Thanks for radio too.
As do we. And then here's the other thing. You guys, you're spot on with the name. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. So,
And we reach every main street in Middle Tennessee, Coach?
yeah, that's it. So
Perfect.
when you are on Main Street and you are moving,
You gotta love it.
like you're moving, I was impressed.
I'm glad someone...
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. It's Tuesday. It's Top 5 Tuesday. Top 5 road trip snacks coming your way here in just a few moments, so stick around for that. But first, we get to a good road trip snack chip. Different chip. Chip Walters, not potato chip.
Not potato chip, not my former college roommate, Chip Sullivan.
Who is in?
Oh, in Cancun. Yes. Chip, I was looking at Facebook as we were coming on, and there's pictures of Chip in Cancun, and I'm like, we can confirm him. So that's good. Sorry.
So Chip Sullivan, I'm not even sure I realized that Chip Sullivan was your college roommate.
It was only 1 year. It was short. I'm not sure I realized you knew Chip Sullivan. Yeah. Chip and I roomed together for a year. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. It was an experience. As has been your work as the voice of the Blue Raiders, I'm sure, watching Nick McDevitt's bunch. Tough one on Saturday against the Blazers.
Well, two tough ones last week, and this league, there have not been a ton of road wins by anybody this year. FAU has had the most of anyone, and also Rice, for some reason, Rice has won road games, but they've lost home games. So it's that they've been kind of the bizarro world team of the league, but it's been an extremely tough year for winning on the road, but Nick McDevitt, after the game at UAB, came on the air and was as mad as I've ever seen and heard him on a post-game show, and basically called out his team that you don't go and give up 89 and 92 in back-to-back games. He goes, at some point, you've got to decide to not let the guy in front of you score. Take that upon yourself and play from there. Yeah, you scored 89 at Western, or 80, whatever it was, but not enough to win because you didn't, you got yourself in a 16-point hole, and then come out at UAB and knowing that UAB was coming off a double overtime loss at North Texas and had all kinds of chances to win it, that they were going to be ill, and that they were going to try to give you a haymaker early, and you let them do it. And they took a 25-point lead at halftime, and they're too good and too talented to get in that sort of deep a hole. You've got to be in a position to where you can swap baskets with them, heading into the final 5 minutes to make a move. But, to me, we'll see FAU for the second time here on Thursday night. But, to me, the most dangerous team in the league when they're right is UAB.
Well, yeah, I mean, when Jelly Walker's available, it's a problem, and he's kind of slowly made his way back into that lineup. They beat FAU at home too, so losing at Bartow, not exactly a tough stretch there. I mean, it's not going to hurt your feelings too much.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't hurt you consider yourself to one of teams in the conference, and those are games you've got to go and win.
Yeah, and I mean, UAB has done a good job scheduling. The game against Middle Saturday afternoon was their 16th home game, and they're 15-1 at home. What I can't figure out is how have they lost 7 games on the road, and we saw them at Middle in overtime and a shot in the air that came a tenth of a second after the clock went off that gave Middle a victory in that one. But UAB with Trey Jemison, he's as good a big man as you will see in the entire Southeast. And I'm not talking about just Conference USA. He is a load and very, very talented. And so they're just good. And Jelly Walker, he was somewhat quiet, and then came back and hit 3 threes in the last 5 minutes, and all of a sudden went from having a rather pedestrian 15, 16-point day to 25. But Ty Leonard, who averages 6 a game, had the game. He had 22 that day. And I hear they're coming for you. So
hopefully it's not our building.
Columbia's finest coming through.
Now, sorry.
No, good.
Well, here's the thing. Despite losing 2 games in the week,
yeah,
no movement in the tournament, still sitting in the 4-hole, and you get right to start acting into today. So still work to do, but you feel comfortable that you got a shot here.
That's right. You need to take care of some business. You've got 2 home games left, and that's this weekend. You've got FAU and then FIU, who's a really dangerous ball club. But you're right. You're a half game ahead of Rice, but basically a game and a half because you did sweep Rice, and you've got that in hand. And then you've got 3 home games. You've got the 2 this week, and then you've got Louisiana Tech, who you beat on the road, surprisingly easy back in January. So the other good part about this 2-week stretch being at home is only having 1 game next week. You're going to get some pretty valuable rest before heading into the Tech game, and then having to make the trip to North Texas and also UTEP to end things up. But the key thing is you got to take care of business at home. Florida Atlantic's a key game. They're 14-1 and 24-2 overall, but they're not unbeatable as we've seen with UAB. It will be a tall order, but it can be done. 6:00 game on Thursday, national television on CBS Sports Network. So it's a big one, and I think Nick McDevitt came out yesterday and got their attention. He said last night on his radio show that the first hour of yesterday's practice was all about defense and rebounding, and we didn't even talk about doing things offensively. And I think the players should have gotten the message of that's what the priorities were.
Sounds like a Pat Summit practice. Offense sells tickets, defense wins games, and rebounding wins championships.
Wins championships, exactly. I've heard her say that before. But and then on the women's side, they went through this 2 weeks ago, when they went to Texas, came back after losing 2 there, bounced back with home wins against Western and UAB, and now find themselves with a 2-game lead that is actually 3 because they've swept Western, and they're 13-2 overall, 20-4. And while the 2 losses may have knocked themselves out of a chance of hosting an NCAA tournament first and second round, it has their bounce back has continued to keep them in the conversation. And the latest thing I saw had them as a potential 10th seed in Iowa City. So they're still in very good shape for the postseason.
What was the quote from Rick? They thought they killed us in Texas, but they just made us mad.
They just woke us up.
They just woke us up. That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and I'll tell you who else is woken up is Savannah Wheeler. She had 37. I'm here. Yes, I am here. Are you hearing me?
You were there the whole time. We are not. We're unfortunately the fire department was not coming to fix
your internet. So no, you were. Yeah, I know you've been a little bit in and out, a little bit sketchy here, and not from a content standpoint, just from a technical standpoint. But Savannah Wheeler has gotten hot at the right time. She had 37 on Thursday night and came back with 20 plus against UAB. The transfer from Marshall, who led the conference in scoring a year ago, is right now she's kind of taken this team under her wing, and especially they won both games without Courtney Whitson last weekend because Courtney had an ankle injury or a lower leg injury. It appeared she was in a boot and for both games, but it appears that she will be back for Thursday's game at FAU because the ladies make the trip to Florida and will play FAU Thursday night, FIU Saturday afternoon.
Are those the first 2 games she's missed in her Lady Raider career?
I don't have her career stats in front of me, but if I was going to guess, I would say yes. And not only does she not miss many games, she doesn't miss many minutes. She leads that team in minutes played, minutes per game. And so it killed her to not have to not be able to play, but she was the guest on Rick's radio show last night. She was one of 2 guests. She and Anastasia Boldreva were there, and she was sans boot and was walking around pretty good. And there she is. There's Savannah Wheeler. I think we've lost. Yeah, I think we lost. Okay, you're okay.
You just ended your sentence, and we thought you were going to keep going. So we just kind of looked at each other, and I was like, "Oh, well, I guess that was it," and that's perfectly fine.
At least I didn't end it in a preposition. So there's that.
You go.
Chip, take me a little bit more into Savannah Wheeler because as we've discussed, since she announced that she was coming, she's transferred in from former Conference USA rival Marshall. What was it that attracted her to this program from what you understand, when she decided she was leaving Marshall?
Just from my understanding, she saw a program that was a consistent high-level winner that played a great non-conference schedule and has seen the likes of, because Middle wins championships, whether it's regular season, tournament, or both. They get into the postseason year after year, and it puts her on a bigger stage than what was available at Marshall. And also, you look around and you see folks like Alicia Clark, who's come through this program, who's now a member of the Las Vegas Aces, and having all kinds of success in the WNBA, and knows that is a path that can be followed when you play at Middle.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does. I was just kind of curious as to her mindset because, you don't often see players transfer within the conference like that. And I'm sure it went over well in Marshall, but we certainly don't care.
Well, and that's right. Well, and, I don't know if it made it any easier knowing that Marshall was going to be leaving the league and going to the Sun Belt, but whatever the case may be, but I think her decision was made and announced probably before Marshall announced that they were actually leaving. So that was, I think there can be some rough moments when you do that, but in her case, there was not a bother. There was confidence in her decision, and here she is, and she's been a great teammate and a great addition to a team that's pretty talented.
Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chip, Sunday was a
speaking of next level Blue Raiders.
And next level Blue Raiders, exactly. Had a couple on the big stage Sunday evening, Darius Harris and Reed Blankenship, and I saw a graphic after the game that Darius 3 multiple Super Bowl winners to come out of the MTSU football program. Is that right?
There are two. Yes, Darius
and
Don Griffin and Darius Harris. That's correct. So
that's okay. It's two.
There are two, yeah. And Don was the first, and I think Don didn't he have 3 or 4 from his days with the 49ers?
But San Francisco. I don't have that graphic right in front of me, so I'm not sure. But yeah, that was. So Middle is DBU now, then, right?
Well, it's kind of, sort of, but that picture that Justin just put up is one that, if you're Rick Stockstill and the social media staff for football, this is one that you make life size to put on a wall graphic. You put this one out with everything you send out to recruits that with your message that you can reach all your goals at Middle Tennessee, and hashtag Middle Made. Those two right there, Darius Harris on the left and Reed Blankenship on the right. Two terrific guys. They're great football players, better guys, and so good that they found each other after the game because, as you can see, the confetti is on the turf, and Darius knows that he's just made about $162,000, and Reed just made about 85 right there for one night's work. That'll do it.
If you are an MTSU, football staffer, like you said, or an MTSU fan, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that right there.
No, does not. And I think Fox Sports put out a graphic of it had the school logos of every school that had a player on the Chiefs roster, and it's kind of nice to be included with a pretty good group of schools there.
Yeah, and really interesting when you look at the totality of, Middle Tennessee State was going to have a Super Bowl winner no matter what. That's just crazy that MTSU had guys playing for both teams that won their conference championships and played for a Super Bowl. That's next level, man.
Well, what was it going into the playoffs? Did we have 5 guys or 6 guys that were in the playoffs? So it was at least 5.
I think it was 6.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think it was 6 that were on NFL, that were on playoff team rosters. So that's a pretty good, nice little thing to have in your portfolio when you go out and recruit, for sure.
No doubt.
Hey, can we talk? Hey, Chip. Exactly. I was going to already underway, and didn't mean to cut you off there. But softball went west to California last week, lost the opening game to Cal Riverside, but came back and won 4 straight, beat Montana twice, Fresno State, and beat Riverside once. And so they're 4-1, getting ready to go to Fort Myers this weekend. And down there, they will be playing Florida Gulf Coast, Boston College, and Lipscomb. So they'll play 5 games over the weekend, 2 against BC, 2 against Florida Gulf Coast, and 1 against Lipscomb. And on that same note, Blue Raider baseball will play the actual first game, the very first game of the Conference USA season, as they will open up Friday morning at 10 a.m. against VCU down in Conway, South Carolina at Coastal, and will play the homestanding Chanticleers on Saturday, and we'll finish up with Fairfield on Sunday morning. So that'll be the first 3, and then after that, I think it's a 15-game homestand following the trip down to Coastal this weekend.
Obviously, Chip, we were having issues there, as we have been for most of this segment. But did you mention who the Friday starter is against VCU?
I did not, but it is Jaden Ham. I found that out earlier. Okay. Jaden Ham will go Friday. Eric Swan will go on Saturday, and Toby Named Laterre is the starter on Sunday, also known as to be named later. So. And
he gets traded a lot.
He does get traded a lot.
And also our pal Bob Jameson will be handling the call, which I think he can handle that quite well after his numerous years in the minor leagues and his stint with the California Angels. We're so fortunate to have a guy with big league experience coming out of the bullpen for us on the radio. He'll have the broadcast all weekend, and you can catch them all on the Varsity Network app.
As spot starters go, you can do a lot worse than Bob Jameson.
That's correct. That's exactly right.
Now, were you, before we let you go, were you involved in any surprise announcements over the weekend, or was that you were gone? So you were involved. But
correct. Brad Willis did that.
Brad Willis of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame with a little middle connection this weekend. Surprise visit to the Glass House.
Yeah. Steve Smith will be among the 2023 inductees, and as is so often the case, Brad Willis with the ambush there. So,
he really does a good job with that. And I tell you, I got to get Brad. Brad lives here in Murfreesboro. He is a fine Marshall County native from Lewisburg, and I tell you what he has done. The Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame was already a great organization, but what Brad Willis has done under his tutelage, he has lifted the profile of that event and also that venue, and couldn't be more proud for him, because sometimes people gripe about, I got to go to this banquet or that banquet. I love going to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame banquet and hearing the stories of not just the high profile people, but I mean, the folks who have been world class in sports in disciplines that we don't necessarily think of every day. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, like you said, Brad has really done a great job of, I think, raising the visibility of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. It's been fun to watch. Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, as he does every Tuesday. Chip, we appreciate it.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a good rest of the day. And again, sorry you're not in Cancun.
That's me too. But if at least one Chip could be there, and if it was and Chip Sullivan, if it's him, that's quite all right. So I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, man.
All right, it's time for our top 5 day brought to you by our friends at Mid-South by Fitness Dallas, still and the great folks there. Stillathletes.com, STEEL athletes at Still Athletes on Instagram. Go follow them there. It's time to talk about road trip snacks. And last week's poll, the winner was Justin Kulik.
What was last week's poll?
His top 5 Super Bowl individual performances. Recency bias got us, Mo, and that's the thing. But you and I tied. And so since I had the most recent number 1 pick, you get today's number 1 pick. And so we go top 5 road trip snacks. And we start now with Mo's number 1 pick. Who's it going to be?
Can't find them very often, but when I do, I grab them. Caramel Bugles.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Man, I haven't heard the word
Those
bugle.
are hard to find, but they shouldn't be.
Right. Maybe they're hard to find because they're selling out. I don't know.
I guess that's possible. All right, I'm gonna go with what? You there? What'd you say?
I said nothing.
You said something.
Did I say something?
Justin, you all right?
Can you hear me?
Okay. I don't know. Did you?
We can now.
The only thing I said was I didn't say anything.
I'm going with Reese's Pieces.
Oh, you going with candy? Okay, right off the bat. I like it. So, does it have to be a food or just something that you know, it's a road trip like
snack?
Like what a,
so,
would a big gulp be a snack?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm gonna go big gulp for my first pick. Like a big soft drink.
A drink.
So,
my number 2 is,
or does it?
My number 2 is chocolate covered pretzels.
Oh, that's a good one, Mo. That is a good one.
The little pretzels that are dipped.
Regular chocolate or white chocolate?
No, regular chocolate.
Because I like the white chocolate dips. Those are all right. It just depends.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go number 2. Give me Doritos.
Classic. What flavor?
Probably just nachos. I like nachos better than Cool Ranch. So
I gotcha. I'm gonna go. This is gonna be I'm not gonna win this poll at all, but I go Slim Jim all day.
Okay.
Lamar.
Number 3. My number 3 is the Werther's hard candies, the caramels.
Nice.
Showing your age there.
Is that
I was just gonna go regular beef jerky, so I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go beef jerky. If Mo pops out with peppermints here in a minute, we're just gonna be.
I like a good apple.
I was going to come back to beef jerky, but yeah.
All right. This is another
okay.
No, I was joking.
Oh, okay.
He was joking.
No, I'm not doing apple. I was gonna go with another unpopular opinion though. The rotisserie hot dogs that you see at the gas stations.
Oh.
Hit or miss.
You like this road trip, don't you?
He likes to live dangerous.
Well, my thing is, I only if I'm gonna stop, it's gonna have to be at a nice gas station. Like if I see a Pilot, I'll wait out a little bit to make sure it's a gas station that I would think they have good rotisserie.
Sure. I'm going with a White Monster drink.
Nice.
All right. Justin, your number 4, quickly.
Let's do Twix.
All right.
Since we've incorporated drinks, Sprite.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all hated on me on the drink.
We're not going to get this in. Is what it is. I'm going to go peanut M&Ms.
I'm gonna go Oreo cookies.
Oh, nice. That's Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness and fine folks at Still Athletes, stillathletes.com, still at Still Athletes on Instagram. Y'all go follow them. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Heather Williams at 2:20, and we'll talk about who else is next. So we'll see you then on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee. Enjoy.